Welcome mamas, my name is Melissa Byrka and today I'm going to be taking you through a prenatal flow. For props, you're going to need 2 blocks, and if you have a bolster or a cushion around, grab one of those. It's very important that if you're new to exercise, please make sure you have consulted your doctor before starting this workout. Now we're going to get started in a cat-cow on hands and knees. So finding a tabletop here, hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath your hips. Let's start to move and warm up the spine. Inhaling to drop the belly, lift the chest. And exhale, round through the spine. Inhale, find that movement throughout the whole spine, from your tailbone to the neck. Slowly exhale, curling the tailbone under, tucking the chin towards your chest. 2 more, full breath in, allowing that belly to drop down. Exhale it out. Really pressing those shoulder blades towards the ceiling. Last one, inhale fully here. And completely exhale. Good. We're going to come to a neutral spine, flat back. Extend the left toes back so they're on the floor. And then we're going to walk those toes over to the right. And start to gaze back behind that right shoulder. So we're creating this C shape with the spine. A little bit of a side bend here. Keep pushing your hips to the left. And getting into that low back and hip on the left side. Take one more full inhale and exhale. We'll bring that knee back through the center, moving to the other side, stepping the right toes back, and then walk it over to the left side. Again, take your gaze over that left shoulder and keep pushing your hips towards the right. Good. Just exploring what feels good in your body as we are just getting started, getting into some movement here. And then come back through to center. We're going to just walk the knees back a couple inches. Keep the hips over the knees as you start to walk your hands forward and drop the chest down into a puppy pose. Just take 2 breaths here. It might feel better to take your knees a little bit wider, just giving your belly some space here. Then we're going to thread the needles. So just coming up gently, and we're going to take that right arm and thread it through underneath the left. Drop the shoulder down and just explore how that feels in your upper back between the shoulder blades. Maybe exploring a little bit of a deeper breath here, if it's available. Relax the muscles in your face. Just finding that gentle twist in your upper back. We'll slowly press into the left hand, bring yourself back up, and we'll move right over to the other side. So left arm threading underneath the right, drop the shoulder down, and just find that gentle twist through your upper back, keeping your hips elevated right over your knees. Just breathing in space behind the heart. Take one more inhale here. And on your exhale, press into that right palm, lift yourself up, coming back onto hands and knees. From here, we're going to grab your blocks and set yourself up into a lunge position. Step the right foot forward, keep the left knee on the mat. And we can play with the blocks here, just finding a height that feels good, where you can still keep your torso upright, get those shoulders back. So untuck the back toes and find a little bit of engagement here. We're squeezing into the back glute, or the left glute, I should say, and pressing into that right heel. So we find a little bit of engagement into the muscles of the legs. And I want you to imagine you're trying to draw your front heel towards your back knee. Your back knee is trying to pull towards that front heel. So there's this traction, this engagement. It's extremely important throughout your pregnancy to work into that strength instead of overstretching, as we can potentially overstretch because of that relaxin flowing through our bodies. So from here, I want you to straighten the front leg, coming into a half splits, pushing your hips back and moving into a beautiful hamstring stretch here. Again, really engaging, pressing that right heel into the mat and gently pulling it back towards you. Thinking about squaring the hips as you drive that right hip forward, right hip back, left hip forward. We'll come into that lunge one more time, bending the front knee, lifting the chest. Really thinking about opening up that left hip flexor as you engage the glute. One more time, we'll straighten that front leg into a half splits, half Hanumanasana. Inhale to lengthen your heart forward and exhale your belly down towards your thigh. 2 more breaths here. Good. We're going to walk that right foot back to meet the left and gently step your left foot forward. Once again, just finding that lunge that feels good in your body. Once you find stability, find the engagement. Imagine drawing your front heel towards your back knee. Your back knee drawing towards your front heel. Create that engagement. Lifting the heart here. Pulling the shoulders back. And we'll straighten into that front leg, moving into our half splits. Again, squaring off the hips, drive that right hip forward, left hip back. And then guide your heart down towards your thigh. Keep checking in with the breath, breathing in and out through your nose if that's available. And then once more, we'll come into that low lunge. Just ensuring that front knee is stacked over your ankle. Press down into your heel. Lengthen your torso. Get those shoulders back. One more time, moving into our half splits. Shift the hips back, straighten that front leg. If you could imagine a small pelvic tilt here, lifting your tailbone to the ceiling. And then see if you have the space to hinge forward just a little bit more. Good. You're going to press into those blocks, bend the front knee, and bring it back to meet your right. We'll just place the blocks at the top of the mat for now and come into our first downward facing dog. So take your hands shoulder distance apart, fingers spread wide. Tuck the toes under and lift your hips up. You can bend the knees here just to ease into it. It might feel nice to take your feet a little bit wider, creating again more space for your belly. And just allow your head to hang here, releasing any tension in the neck. Taking in full breaths, filling the belly with air. Exhaling it all out. Very, very nice. From here, we're going to step our right foot outside our right hand, the left foot outside the left hand. Bring your hands onto your knees, keep your knees bent. And then we're going to come into a wide-legged chair pose. So, arms reaching out straight in front of you, keeping those pretty much into a nice squat here. Keeping those legs bent, feeling the weight in your heels, squeezing your inner thighs towards one another, just creating some tension, some engagement. One more breath. Stay for the exhale. Inhale, reach the arms up, stand straight up. Exhale the arms down by your side. We're going to step to the top of the mat. Stepping the left foot back, we're going to move into warrior two. So take a really big step back. Your back toes are turning to the side of your mat, arms reaching out to the side. Keep your gaze strong over that front middle finger. And once again, front knee stacked over your ankle. Press your heel into the mat and create that engagement, that strength into your legs. We'll flip that right palm up towards the ceiling. Inhale. Exhale, reverse your warrior. You can bring your hand onto your belly if that feels nice. And just reach that right arm up towards the ceiling, maybe reaching back a little bit. But just a little goes a long way to feel that right side opening up. And then we'll inhale, come back to warrior two, straightening through the front leg. Kick your hips to the back of your mat, reach as far forward as you can, and then drop down, tipping into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Ensuring we got a slight bend in that front leg just to protect the joint. Again, we're looking for strength as we hold these poses. Breathe and reach that arm up. Inhale. We're going to bend into that front knee. Exhale, warrior two. Hands on your hips. Bring your toes to face the side of your mat. We're going to set up for goddess pose. So let's actually turn those toes out, heels in, and drop into our bent knees. So just again, building strength through the inner thighs. Maybe moving around side to side will feel really nice. And then we'll take a twist here. So drop that right shoulder towards your left knee. A little bit of twist from that upper back. Breathe in. Exhale. Inhale, come back through the center. Exhale, left shoulder down towards that right knee. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, come back through to center. Sink a little lower, build that strength. And on your next inhale, let's come all the way up, straightening through the legs. We're going to turn our left foot to the back of the mat, setting up for warrior two. Open the arms out to the side, gaze over that front middle finger. Find the strength in those legs. Turn that left palm up towards the ceiling. Again, you can place your hand on your belly here. Reach up as you inhale. Reverse your warrior. One more breath. Inhale, find that length in the left side of the torso. Stay for the exhale. Inhale back to warrior two, straightening the front leg. Make any adjustments you need to. We're going to kick the hips back, Reach as far forward as you can, and then tipping over into our triangle pose. So if you could imagine someone was putting their hand on your top hand, and they're like giving you a high five. You're pressing into their hand, creating some engagement into that shoulder joint, right? It really helps to create that alignment. Let's take one more full breath in here. Exhale it out. Press into that front foot, bend the knee, come back, warrior two. Hands on your hips. We're going to come into goddess pose again. Turn the toes out, heels in, drop into your squat. Really open up the thighs here. Sink as low as you can, and we're just breathing for 3, for 2. Last one, sink a little lower. On your inhale, rise up and step to the top of the mat. Now take a moment here to make sure that you got your blocks in front of your feet, as we're going to need them for our next sequence. So starting with tree pose, we're going to stand on the left leg, rotate that right leg out. Options to keep your toes on the mat is perfect, right? Or if you're feeling super stable, maybe you bring your foot onto your calf. You could always try bringing it above the knee, but just please be careful with your stability and your balance. Your hands are at your heart space. Your gaze is focused. Just feeling the connection, the base of your foot into your mat, feeling rooted. And if you're not feeling rooted, that's okay. It's practice, right? We're going to move into our warrior 3. So very slowly, see if you can bring your right knee to the center, balancing on that left foot. We're going to start to tip our body forward, kick that right leg back behind us, and reach down for those blocks. So warrior 3, kick that right leg back and square off the hips. You might need to drop that right hip down and think about pulling that left thigh bone up. And now think about what's happening in the spine. Can you lengthen the spine a little bit more, reaching out from the crown of your head? Such a good pose in pregnancy to help build that strength and balance in your legs. We're going to slowly start to drop those right toes back down and come into a high lunge. Reach the arms up as you rise. And now we're going to take our hands down onto our hips. Turn the back foot so the toes turn to the side of the mat. We find that external rotation from their thigh bone. We're going to bring our left hand down onto a block, right hand on your hip, and we're going to kick off, balancing on the left foot into Arda Chandrasana half moon pose. So that back foot takes flight, and then let's kick from the heel. Maybe top arm reaches up towards the sky, really opening our hips to the side here. Whew. And then let's bring that hand back down on the hip. Slowly release your right foot back down. Both hands on a block, and then step forward, forward fold. Let yourself open your feet a little wider here. Bend your knees, give yourself some space, and just let yourself come into this forward fold. Full breath in and out. Press down through the feet. Inhale, come up halfway, hands on the knees. Exhale, fold. Inhale, come all the way up. Reach the arms up with you. Exhale, hands by your side. Good. We're going to move into the other side, finding that tree pose. But let's just make sure our blocks are right in front of our feet before we start. Ground down through the right leg, root your foot, and open the left knee out to the side. Again, toes can stay on the mat, or maybe the sole of the foot is on your calf. Maybe it's above the knee. Just make sure it's not pressing directly onto that knee, right? Our knee doesn't move that way. Hands to your heart, or maybe hands on your belly. Connect with your breath. Connect with your body. Connect with the life growing inside of you. We're going to slowly take that left knee to center. Start to kick that left leg back as your heart reaches forward, tipping over into warrior three. Find those blocks for support, and then you're thinking about dropping that left hip, squaring the hips off, taking flight with the spine as you lengthen the crown of your head forward. This is such a good stabilization exercise into that standing leg glute. I am definitely feeling that. Now we're going to slowly tap those back toes to the mat. Find your high lunge. Get stable, and then inhale, reach the arms up. Hands on your hips. Back toes turn to the side. Again, we're just rotating the back thigh out. Then we're going to take our right hand onto that block in front of our foot. Left hand on your hip. All the way into your right foot as you take flight and lift your back foot. Whew, balance. My right side's a little bit more wobbly. So kick into that back heel, create engagement into that leg. Maybe your top arm reaching up towards the ceiling. Very nice. We're going to slowly take it down with some grace. And then once the toes touch down, hands on both blocks. Turn your hip. And we're going to step forward and then step as wide as the mat. So toes off the mat, heels on. Drop into your Yogi Squat. So you can use a block here underneath your seat. And there's a couple different options for heights if you want to be a little higher or lower. But this is a great place to set up camp for a little bit and practice, because it's potentially, you know, a labor pose, something that could happen during labor. So it's really good to help us open up those inner thigh muscles, relax the pelvic floor, work into all that good stuff. Let's take 2 more breaths here, breathing deep into the belly. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good. We're going to take that block out if you're using it. Let's just place them to the side. We won't need them for a bit. Hands onto the mat. Step back onto your knees. And we're going to keep our weight on our right knee. Turn your foot out to the side, opening up into a side plank. So making sure that that wrist is directly underneath your shoulder. Open up the shoulder girdle. And then here, if this is feeling good, we're just building some strength into those obliques, into the shoulder, stay here. If you want more, we're gonna add an abduction into the hip. So we're lifting that left leg up, pushing through the heel, slight rotation, so pointing your toes down a little bit here, and just breathe. Keeping the shoulders down, and just playing with what feels good in your body. Remember, we're trying to work through strength here, but also listening is so important throughout our pregnancy. So if your leg is up, let's bring it down. Bring that left hand back down to the mat. We're gonna go right into the other side. Left knee to the mat, turn your foot out to the side, and stabilize onto that right leg. Open yourself up. And then again, if you want more, lift that right leg up, glute abduction, hip abduction. Just a couple more breaths here. If that leg is up, slowly release it back down to the mat. And we'll come onto hands and knees. So let's take that right leg, right knee up to your right wrist. Take a seat onto that right hip, and we'll set up for deer pose. So both knees are on a 90-degree angle. Again, we can use our blocks for support here, and maybe doubling up, just depending on how you're feeling. I want you to think about a really tall spine here. We need to give some space for our bellies. So ground down through your hips and then hinge forward, allowing yourself to come as far forward as that feels comfortable. Maybe it feels good to put your elbows on the blocks, but it should feel like a really nice stretch in that right hip glute area. Might feel nice to keep the eyes closed here. Just taking a moment to connect with the body and the baby. Such a special time. And it can be quite busy at times, so it's really precious to honor these moments where we can slow down. Maybe you're starting to feel the baby move inside you. I know babies love yoga. Mine sure did. And they're usually pretty quiet during the practice, and then after it's like they're having a dance party in there. Let's take one more full breath in and exhale it out. Come up onto your hands, lift the spine. And so we're just gonna swap the legs out. I'm actually gonna take a block with me. I'm gonna turn onto the other side, lifting the left knee, and the right leg will follow. Placing that block in front of me, finding the 90 degrees in both knees. And then start to walk your hands forward, and maybe just being upright is enough. Depending where you are in your pregnancy, maybe that's just where you have space. But if you can come forward, just start to hinge. Find that juicy stretch into your left hip. Wherever you're at, see if you can release some tension from those shoulders. Relaxing the muscles of the face. We'll take one more inhale here. Stay for the exhale. Then come up onto your hands. Slowly, we'll bring that right leg up. Left leg will follow. Turning to the top of the mat. So for our next pose, we're going to use the bolster, or if you have a pillow or a cushion, we're going to do a supported Sphinx pose. So this is a great way for you to lay on your front side without creating any compression in your belly. So we want the bolster to be right on the hips, just below the belly. And walk your hands forward. And get yourself comfortable here. Might feel good to take your feet wider. And then when you're ready, come down onto your elbows. So your belly is just draping right over the bolster. Just have some room there. And then think about pressing into the elbows, elevating your chest, your heart, and finding a back bend here. Keeping the shoulders down, away from the ears. And again, as you inhale, if you could imagine just breathing into the space behind your heart. Exhaling, just allowing any tension to melt away. Full breath in. Exhale it out. 2 more. We're going to just add a couple neck rolls in here. So dropping your right ear to your right shoulder. Slowly dropping the chin down towards your chest. And then over to the left. Do that 2 more times in that direction. And then we can go turning in the other direction just a few times, moving at a really slow pace. Very nice. So come onto your hands. We're going to bring the bolster a little bit further up the mat for a supported child's pose. We're going to, so it says supported, but I want your hands on the bolster so that you have a little bit more height here. We're taking the knees fairly wide, toes together, sitting the hips back. We're going to allow a little bit more height here with our arms. See if we can create more depth into that stretch through our chest, our lats and shoulders. Maybe your forehead can still touch down. Wherever you're at, just thinking about that idea of breathing into the space between your heart. Behind your heart. Sink the hips back. Relaxing your inner thigh muscles. Relaxing the pelvic floor. One more full inhale. And complete exhale. Press into the hands. Come back onto hands and knees. And for our final pose, we'll come into an inclined Supta Baddha Konasana. So a couple options here. It's always nice to be on an incline when you're pregnant. So depending on where you are in your pregnancy, you might want more height if you're in that third trimester. So I'm going to show you how I would set up. Taking 2 blocks like a T. The one behind is on the highest height. And then taking that bolster, it's like your little ramp. So scooching your bum right beside the bolster with your feet together, soles of your feet touching. So your tailbone is right beside the bolster as you slowly descend back. And then once you arrive and feel comfortable, we'll go bring the arms out to the side, just finding a happy place. I like to take my shoulder blades and just shimmy them under my back to create an open, broad chest. Palms facing up. And just breathing here. It might feel even better to bring your hands on your belly and just give some love to your little baby inside you. Inhaling, filling belly, sides, back. And exhale, letting everything recoil, come back in. Inhaling, feeling that expansion with the breath. Depending on where you're at with your pregnancy, you might be feeling a little bit short of breath from everything growing inside you. So do your best to maintain a nostril breath, breathing in and out through your nose. This will help to make sure that we are moving deep into the belly, into the diaphragm with the breath. We're creating a little bit more expansion in the rib cage. And breathing through the nose just allows us to remain calm, to feel at peace. We're going to end the class here, but if you'd like to stay in this pose longer, please do. Enjoy this as your Shavasana, your quiet time. Thank you so much for sharing the practice with me today, and I'm sending you lots of love and light. Please remember to be kind always. Namaste.